Hello, I'm Angel and welcome to my galaxy. Before we start, I want to give a thank you to Poet who drew this lovely picture of my characters. Look how cute they are. As for the topic of the video today, we're going to be drawing some anime characters. Specifically, my favorite anime characters from 3 animes I have chosen. I picked 2 that are more older that I used to watch as a child and 1 that I recently enjoy. Also, side note, there may be some spoilers, so I would suggest if you want to watch any of these animes, maybe just skip over that section. Anyways, the first anime I ever saw was a Studio Ghibli movie called Ponyo. I'm sure many watching have seen Ponyo because Studio Ghibli movies are kind of like the basic starter pack for people who love anime. Just in case, the basic premise is that a fish girl escapes her father who is human and lives underwater. We don't really need to question that part. And ends up meeting a boy named Sasuke. Weird things happen after that. My favorite characters was Ponyo's dad and Sasuke. I looked it up and apparently her dad's name is Fujimoto or something like that, but I'm just gonna refer to him as Ponyo's dad, it's easier. If I remember right, I liked Ponyo's dad because he gave off this witchy magical vibe and I just wanted to know more about him. Disappointed he wasn't in more of the movie. But as for Sasuke, I think I just liked him because he was a good kid. Like a good person in general. I'm sure more people expected me to say Ponyo because, it's the main character, she's all lovable and yada yada. But I really didn't like her in the movie, actually. I don't even really know why. She kind of just gave off brat vibes to me, but she wasn't a brat because she did nice things. It's just the way she did them. Though I suppose that's what happens when your dad keeps you in a bubble, like literally a bubble. But before we get more into the actual movie, I want to talk about what I'm drawing. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but if I recall, Sasuke and Ponyo's dad don't really interact that much. This means I had to make my own little headcanon for them, and what I thought was a cute idea was Ponyo's dad showing Sasuke some of his magic. Now, can he make bubbles out of thin air? I don't know, but you know what? If I say Magic Man can do that, then Magic Man can do that. To the movie, we're gonna talk about that now. I think what drew me into it as a kid wasn't the art style itself, but just how different it was from other movies I'd seen. It was magical, but in a different way than what you'd see in your typical movie made in the USA. And I think that's what I still like about anime today, just how different it is from your typical movie you'd see anywhere else. In other words, I loved everything about this movie, from characters to story, except the ending. The ending bothered me as a kid, but I couldn't quite place my finger on why because I was so young. But now that I'm an adult, I get why I was annoyed. I know it's just a kid's movie, but something about the ending really just felt unrealistic. I'm sorry, these 5-year-olds are suddenly in love, have to live their whole lives together. The mother is now taking care of a child that isn't her own and has to explain this to her husband. Not to mention Ponyo's parents are for some reason okay with it. Side note, here's the finished picture. I could go on and on about how I hate the ending, but we're not going to talk about that because I know you don't want to hear about that the whole time. You're not here for a movie review. But anyways, good movie, don't like the ending. Let's move on to the next thing. The next one we have is Black Butler, which I started watching in middle school. I didn't really know that Studio Ghibli was an anime, so for a while I considered Black Butler to be the first anime I ever saw. I don't remember much about the plot of Black Butler, but to put it in simple terms, a boy makes deal with demon. I don't remember why I like this show since I have very little memories about anything having to do with it. One of the few things that I remember about the show is liking Sebastian and Grell. I don't know why they were my favorite, but they kind of just were amusing when they were together, so I think that's why. Speaking of Grell, am I the only one that didn't know Grell was a trans woman? I thought Grell was a boy this whole time because in the show, they are always referred to by he, him. I googled her gender today because I was like, well, I might as well make sure that I'm right, but then it wasn't. It's so shocking to me because I remember in middle school having a debate with a friend about what gender Grell was. I thought Grell was a boy back then as well, because they always referred to her as he, him. My friend thought Grell was a female because she liked Sebastian. It was at a time where being gay wasn't exactly talked about, so we didn't know what being gay was and all that kind of thing. So we looked it up, and I remember clear as day it saying that Grell was a boy. In other words, I'm very confused, and I'm just going to be referring to Grell as she, her, just in case. But if I'm wrong, then please tell me. Grell's gender aside, that's about all I remember, other than the workers of the Phantom Manor, and some of the more inappropriate scenes. Honestly, I should not have been watching this show as an 11-year-old. I say this mostly because of the nun scene, and if you know, you know, and if you don't know, probably better not knowing. I don't really know what else to say, because like I said, I have very little memory of the show, so instead I'm going to talk about the art. We're in the coloring stage, and should be done soon. I was going to play off of like ship art with Sebastian and Grell, because I remember shipping them a lot as a kid. I do still really like them as a couple, the annoyed one and the kind of bubbly all over the place one. Opposites attract is always a good ship if you ask me. Here we are finishing up the last bits and details right now. I can see the finish line ahead. We should be done any minute now. Adding highlights and all that stuff. And here's the finished product. Now that we are done with more older animes that I watched as a child, we are going to do one that I really like now. This one is Way of the House Husband. The basic plot is a mafia man that becomes a house husband. Almost said wife there, but it's fine. I would say it's definitely the type of show I love. Goofy, but still has some tones of seriousness in it, though those tones of seriousness are very dulled down. As for the characters, I can't name a single one that I actually dislike. Sure, there are ones I don't necessarily care about, but I still don't hate them. As for the ones I love the main core characters, which is probably the best feeling ever. When you love the core characters the most, you see them on screen the most, and it's just the best. And that is why I drew the main characters, which are Tatsu, his wife, and friend. Honestly, I'm so bad with names, especially in movies. Especially when those names are from a different language. Whenever me and my mother watch movies, we don't call the characters by their names. Most of the time we just give them nicknames like the blonde or the brother, and they have to do with appearance or whatever their role in the movie is. That was my way of telling you I don't know any of their names except for Tatsu. As for the art itself, I'm actually really proud of how it came out. I love how cartoony and kind of chipified the characters look, especially Tatsu. I feel like if you saw him in this drawing and you've watched the anime, you'd be able to see like, oh hey, yeah, that's him. Only one I didn't really care about how I drew was his friend. It just doesn't look like him. One reason I do not draw fan art is because I struggle to make characters look like themselves. I would argue that's one of the more frustrating things about being an artist. Because what do you mean I have all the pieces but they don't fit together? That is basically what it feels like when you can't draw the character as themselves. And that is why we are going to focus on Tatsu and not the other two characters in the back. Side note, my elderly cat has something to say. Anyways, back to the video. Though I believe I don't have too much else to say about this drawing. I mean, I don't really know what people say whenever they do these speed paints. I'm still trying to get the hang of it. Turns out holding a conversation with myself is much harder than I thought it'd be. And I just thought of something to add. You see our friend's jacket back there? I did not do the pattern on it. You know why? Because I was too lazy. Now, to be fair, animators don't add patterns like that either. They don't draw those every single time they draw the character. From my knowledge, what happens when a character has a pattern such as the one you see on him is they put that pattern on the back of the canvas and then erase the areas where they want the pattern to appear. That is your art lesson of the day, and here's the finished product. Woo. Thank you for sticking to the end. I know this video has been choppy. It's because I recently got a new phone and I lost all my data, such as the more important things, such as my sprite character that you see here, so I thought I wasn't going to film without a character. Then I lost the whole video that I originally planned, along with any other future videos, and it was just a mess, so thank you so much for sticking through with me, and I hope to see you next time.